Now we have the microphone on. 3 facts for you. First fact is, I hate being scared. But I love horror. When I was a kid, I used to read horror books, every one I could get my hands on. And now that I'm a grown-up, and I don't have to sneak behind my parents' back anymore, I watch every horror movie I can, though I tend to watch them in the day, on mute, or on fast forward. Sometimes I rewind. In other words, I do everything possible to ruin the effect of it. So why do I do that? Because of the second fact. I love monsters. And because they fascinate me on every possible level. First, as an artist, the design of them are super cool. All the joints are bent, distorted. They remind me of when I was a kid and before I learned what proportions were. But the other thing is because of how they reflect the human condition. Monsters allow us to explore all the different aspects and things that we are afraid of in the real world. Vampires are a reflection of our fear of mortality, werewolves, the struggle that we have of our inner urges, and of course the most obvious example is Godzilla and Japan's fear of the atomic bomb. But another aspect of the cool things about monsters is how adaptable they are. Perfect example is Invasion of the Body Snatchers. The first version that came out in 1956 was all about McCarthyism and fear of communism. When it came out again, the remake in 1978, it was all about STDs. When it was remade yet again in 1993, it was all about the fear of becoming a drone of adulthood from the perspective of a teenage girl. Monsters are super adaptable, reflecting the fears of the mind. Which is, I guess, when it's time to talk about fact number 3. I'm a person who lives with what's called serious mental illness or mental health conditions. Words are important, y'all. A few, actually, which is why I guess I hate being scared, is because growing up, I had more than enough to be afraid of on my own. So, as much as I hate being afraid, we hope to give you a few chills tonight, because working with art, writing, and song, we use these things to give ourselves catharsis, working through it. And so we hope, with all the things that we're going to do tonight, and that's why I'm so excited we have the band here, because it gives us an extra dimension. We hope to give you some of that same catharsis. So with that, we bid you all welcome to Ghosts in Harmony. The best of these stories always opens with, "It was a dark and stormy night." But not this one, because it was a nice, clear evening. But let's set the rest of the scene. A budding nerd's bedroom. Lots of Lego sets. Movie posters, with glowing swords and dragons on the walls, wizards. Bookcases filled with every possible sword and sandals book you can imagine. And our protagonist, gangly kid, climbing into bed with a flashlight and book, planning to read before he goes to sleep. But it isn't before long before he's out like the light of his flashlight and waking up in a huge carnival tent. And by huge, I mean massive, with the bright beam of a shining beacon of light, so bright, shining in the middle of the tent, that it's one of those bright, huge lights that actually makes everything else darker. So dark that it just fades off into nothingness. And the only other sound that he could hear, other than the crunch of the gravel under his feet, was the warbling sound of a calliope playing, as if it was underwater. And it wasn't like a fun sound, it was disturbing, scary. But he just couldn't find himself. You know, in those dreams, you want to do something, but you just pulled along with it as if the dream has its own narrative. But it wasn't before long there was another sound, a different sound behind him. Sound of a girl crying. And so he turned to check that sound. And suddenly, the beam of light that he had been walking towards was behind, he was walking towards it again. In that logic of dreams, he had turned around only to be facing where he had been looking before. And again, kids, despite what the movies say, kids are not dumb. They know danger when dread hangs this thick in the air. And he knows, get out. Every part of his body is screaming, get out. But his legs, bastards that they are, kept walking forward. And the closer he gets, he sees this girl dressed like a doll. You know, those porcelain dolls? Which, there's a reason why they make movies about two separate things: creepy kids and creepy dolls. And this wasn't like, a porcelain doll, like, powder blue dress. No, it was a black dress, Victorian fair, with the poofy shoulders, and her hair fell down like ringlets, black hair, black dress that went all the way down to her feet. And something told him that her feet weren't feet. And he just kept walking behind her, and he was walking up behind her. And she didn't turn to look at him. All she did was cry. And something about her not turning made it worse. And as he walked over to her and her alabaster skin, he said to her with a calmness he did not feel, "Are you okay? What's wrong?" And she looked up at him. Her eyes like the sky, blue, crystal clear, big, wide, doll eyes. And she said, "I'm lost. Can you help me?" Just as her eyes filled with ink. He started screaming And he woke up screaming. He was home now. And he could hear the sound of his grandfather clock. Now, he hated that sound of that clock, normally. The grandfather clock, his parents had 2 clocks that could tick. The grandfather clock and this other thing, that wasn't so bad. It was this other clock. There's something called a Ridgedale. It was like a grandfather clock, but it was smaller. And that tick-tock, 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 tick-tock. It drove him batty. He frequently would get up in the middle of the night and stop that thing because it was like nails. But tonight, that tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock was reassuring. It told him he was home. So it wasn't before long that the reassuring tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock took him back to sleep. And he woke up again in a medieval bazaar, bright, full of colors, banners hanging down. He knew exactly where he was real quick because it was a bazaar from the books that his parents had got him. I told you, budding nerd. He was excited. This was going to be a fun dream because it was that bazaar where you could get anything you wanted. You could get anything from a milkshake to a dragon. So he took off running, and in that way of dreaming, he'd been there. It could have been seconds, it could have been hours. He checked out the sights. It was a cross-time bazaar from across the multiverse. He loved it. And before long, he found himself at a town square filled with people. It was exciting. They were all looking at a town square. They were all looking and chanting and cheering, looking at something. He couldn't see what it was. He was jumping up and down. He was looking, trying to figure out what it was. I mean, as tall as he was for a kid his age, he just wanted to see what it was. But something shifted. Suddenly hot, stuffy. He found it hard to breathe. And he wasn't at the back of the crowd anymore. He was on a stage. He was where they were looking. And he couldn't move. People were next to him. And the crowd was hungry. And there was somebody in front of him, some man in front of him. Well, I call him a man, but the man had hooves and a top hat and a whip. Oh, this kid. Again, we talked about it. Kid's no dummy, right? This was a slave auction. He was being sold. Step right up. Fine specimen right here. Look at him. Tall for his age. He's going to grow big and strong, be a good worker. Good worker. Fine young man. He's going to be a strong worker. Suddenly the crowd parts. A special buyer is coming forward. Someone the entire crowd is scared of and respects. As small as she was, they were scared of her. Even though she was a little girl with black ringlets and a black dress, with doll-like features and inky black eyes, they were scared of her. You ran away. I want that one. She points at him. He wakes up screaming again. Heart pounding in his chest. He doesn't know what to do. He's debating at this point whether or not to climb into bed with his parents. But he's 6 years old. You don't do that anymore. So he wonders, should he go back to sleep? He goes back to sleep. Wakes up in the warehouse. Holes in the windows. This time, he knows right where he is, because he's seen a lot of those 80s sci-fi action movies, low-budget ones, the ones where the evil mastermind lives. They can't actually afford a set, so they went out to some beat-up old grain silo. So it's just filled with broken, busted windows. You know the ones I'm talking about. Everybody here's seen that kind of movie. They filmed it for like $20. So he's walking across the dirt floor. You keep running away. Turns around. Same black dress. Same blank ringlets in her hair. Same inky black eyes. Wakes up, but this time, sun is shining. Birds are chirping. He's made it through the night. It's been a rough night, y'all. But he's made it through. Everything's okay. The ordeal is over. But there's a shuffle, a noise. Something at the foot of his bed. So even though the sun is shining, the birds are singing, he looks down, and there she is, standing at the foot of my bed. Same black dress, same ringlets, holding a knife. I'm lost and so hungry.
Again, a belief that is aptly titled the perennial philosophy. And in essence, what this belief holds is that the world on which we walk is really nothing more than a thin crackling of late October ice over a lake of deep and unknowable depths. This belief also holds that we're not alone. And across almost all cultures, across almost all times, there are entities within those vast and unknowable depths who just might cross over into our world with forces beneficent or brutal. Scandinavia has the Huldra, the Middle East has the Jinn, Japan has the Kami. Ireland, well, Ireland has the She. In our age, we might consider these forces the life-saving or life-destroying potency nascent in a single switch of a genetic code. The microsecond difference between making it through an intersection or not. But in any case, sometimes it's a little easier to represent these forces in characters such as the She-Oak. The fairy fires are burning bright above the misty moor, and distant music drifts from every tangled ring of thorns. 'Tis on such eves as these, when moonlit shadows fall, 'tis on such eves as these you know the She-Oak come to call. Spirits of the wind and water, spirits of the flame and fen, darkened air and earth incarnate, weaving things we cannot ken. Pass this night, O ancient ones, pass this night, O ancient ones, pass this night, O ancient ones, our wards upon the wall. The fairy fires are burning bright above the misty moor, and distant music drifts from every tangled ring of thorns. 'Tis on such eves as these, when moonlit shadows fall, 'tis on such eves as these you know the she-oak come to call, the she-oak come to call. Spirits of the wind and water, spirits of the flame and fen, darkened air and earth incarnate, weaving things we cannot ken. Pass this night, O ancient ones, pass this night, O ancient ones, pass this night, O ancient ones, our wards upon the wall. The fairy fires are burning bright above the misty moor, and distant music drifts from every tangled ring of thorns. 'Tis on such eves as these, when moonlit shadows fall, 'tis on such eves as these you know the she-oak come to call, the she-oak come to call, the she-oak come to call.
So, some more facts for you. One, when I was growing up, I had this lamp that I absolutely adored. It was handed down from my mom to me, and it was the stylized owl. It was hand-carved, painted midnight blue with V-shaped feathers on it, black V-shaped feathers on it. I love this lamp. And out of the top of the head of it, it had the light in the lampshade. And I kept it on my nightstand right at the head of my bed. It was really cool. The other thing is, you know how like the image of kids, like 8-year-olds, is that they love hopping out of bed, especially on Saturday mornings, to like go watch Saturday morning cartoons. At least us 80s kids. Yeah, not me. Not me. And a lot of people know me as like this super hyper energetic guy, especially Pat, who over the last couple of weeks had to deal with like nonstop texts from me getting ready for this. Sorry, Pat. Anyway, that being said, me as a kid, not a morning person. Weird thing is, totally a morning person now. I had my first vacation in 15 years last year, and I kept waking up way before everybody else. And I discovered I was a morning person, hated it. That was a sad discovery for me. But as an 8-year-old, not a morning person. As a matter of fact, the rule was, wake up, Micah, first morning from Dad. Come on, get up. Wake up, Micah, first morning. Come on, get up. I told you, get up, second morning. Your third warning was a Dixie cup of ice water thrown at you. That's how you got woken up. So my routine was I'd wake up, reach over my head, turn on my favorite lamp without even looking at it. Because that's the thing. My whole life, if I ever had to wake up before dawn, that just didn't happen. Wake up, go to my favorite lamp, turn it on. And no joke, anytime I had to wake up before dawn, I was late every time. This goes on until my 30s. I used to work at the Washington Post. They wanted me to wake up at 6:30 in the morning. I was late literally every day. They had to shift my schedule so I came in the afternoon. So this goes all the way back to childhood. Wake up, reach back, turn on the light. I love this lamp. I love this lamp so much I kept it by my bed. And one day, come on, Micah, get up. First morning. Micah, I said get up. Second morning. I know the Dixie cup is coming. Right? We already said the Dixie cup is coming. My dad does not mess around. By the way, I wasn't a huge fan of my brother, so one day I threw the Dixie cup at him. That was great. But we're focusing on this story. So I reach back and I turn on my favorite lamp. And it's sticky. Lamps aren't supposed to be sticky. They also aren't supposed to be wet and running down your arm. I moved that lamp.
Monsters often have something to teach us. Clowns are innately to be feared, as are the bogs of Ireland, or perhaps the deep, dark woods of southwestern Ohio in the late 1700s. This next story comes out of Appalachian folklore. It's not something that's easy to track its origins, but this is a story called Tailipo. And it's partially about the terrors that lurk at the fringes of our understanding, but perhaps even more so about the dangers of being cut off from the human community. And so, part of the song's about that, and part of it is about bringing us together as a good, healthy human community, embodying a folkloric monster. So the chorus from this one is very much a sing-along. I'll run through it once, and then we'll work on it a time or two. It goes, Tailipo, Tailipo, who has got my Tailipo? All together. Tailipo, Tailipo, who has got my Tailipo? And then the second part, Tailipo, Tailipo, give me back my Tailipo. All together. Tailipo, Tailipo, who has got my Tailipo? Tailipo, Tailipo, give me back my Tailipo. Very good. You've done this before, clearly. All right. Let's get into it. Grew colder for Silas Stone. His friends died off, his kids moved on. He packed his bags and he packed his gun and took to the mountains alone. Oh, he made his home in a shady grove, and to help him hunt raised 3 great hounds. He named them You Don't and I Don't Know, and Canty Calico. On an autumn eve as the fire burned low and food was down to some old soup bones, he went to hunt as hunger drove. Well, the moon through the branches shone, and a flash of fire from his rifle shot sent a creature screeching and sprinting off. But it left its tail for the old soup pot, and it served up juicy and hot. Silas under the covers snored, and the hounds lay slumbering upon the floor. A voice like a distant thunderstorm shook through the cabin door. Taily-po, taily-po, who has got my taily-po? Give me back my taily-po. And the 3 great hounds went charging out, howling and growling. Oh, they barked and bayed as away they raced, but only 2 came home. Silas cursed and Silas swore and grieved, I don't know, something sore, crouching down on his dark front porch as the wind bore a rattling roar. Taily-po, taily-po, who has got my taily-po? Give me back my taily-po. And the 2 great hounds went charging out, howling and growling. Oh, they barked and bayed as away they raced, but only 1 came home. Up to his cabin wall with his trusty gun and his one last dog, Silas prayed for the long off dawn as he heard the pine wood call. Taily-po, taily-po, who has got my taily-po? Give me back my taily-po. And the one last hound went charging out, howling and growling. Oh, he barked and bayed as away he raced, but never did come home. Silas watched as the moon shone clear, and two red eyes came flickering near. His rifle barked, but death was sure as the whisper in his ear. Taily-po, taily-po, who has got my taily-po? Taily-po, taily-po, give me back my taily-po. Now the little cabin in ruin lies. The rafters yield to the forest sky. But still in the dark, when the wind blows right, you'll hear through the whispering pines. Taily-po, taily-po, who has got my taily-po? Taily-po, taily-po, yes, I've got my taily-po. Thank you. Give yourselves a hand, too. You are monsters.
So a few years have gone by since the girl at the foot of my bed and that lamp that now lives on the other side of my bedroom so I can't see it when I wake up in the morning for reasons. And I now have and my mom and dad have done their best to convince me that these are all nightmares. Just normal nightmares that every kid experiences. But I know better. Because I've done my research. And so I've done my research, and I know my house is a gateway to the land of the dead. But do me a favor. I have a question for all of you before we get to that. How many people here have really given any thought to their reflection? I mean, beyond your appearance. You know, the blemish, the wrinkles, which we've all done, I know. Have you really given any thought to your surroundings in your reflection? Like, you know, under the bed if it reflects your bedroom, or around the corner. I do. I give that a lot of thought. So after some experiences in my life, I've checked the corners and all the exits when I walk into a room. Here's a little secret. I always check around the corners, under the bed. I also have one of those big mirrors in my bedroom, one of those big mirrored closets in my bedroom. And I always check like under the bed or whatever. And I always make sure that that closet door is closed, and I don't sleep on the side of the bed that closet door is on. Now, why do I do that? That is the story. Because like I said, growing up, I lived in the gateway to hell. Now, like I said, I've done my research when I was a kid. And how did I do that? because I grew up in what could easily be considered a library. See, every wall in my house that wasn't covered with art was covered with a bookcase. We had even one room that had custom-built floor-to-ceiling bookcases so we could have more books. In our foyer, yes, I grew up in a house fancy enough to have a foyer. There was lined with bookcases so that when you walked into the house, you knew you were coming into the house of readers. And yes, readers, because these books were loved. The spines were cracked, the pages were folded, the covers were all kind of worn off with what collectors called foxing. And in those books, there were makeshift, pages used as bookmarks. Sometimes there were rulers as bookmarks. Sometimes there were even bookmarks as bookmarks. And our house was even divided into sections. Science fiction went here, reference went there. There was a section of books that I wasn't supposed to be able to access as a small child up high. I won't tell you what the books were titled because I think my parents are watching the live stream. Hi, Mom and Dad. So there was even a little plastic box full of index cards so you could find the books more easily. Though that might have been for the record collection because there were over 100 of those. What I'm trying to tell you is the cloud-synced database I have for my board games, DVD collection, and comic books is a genetic defect and not my fault. So when I tell you I have done my research, I mean it. Because at a young age, I was given a gift series called The Enchanted World. Has anybody here heard of it? From the Time Life book series. By the way, I skipped the quote, but we're going to go ahead and move forward. The Time Life series, The Enchanted World. It was this fantastic 21-book series. Came with these gorgeous illustrations with beautiful embossed dragons around the corners, covering every aspect of folklore. Knights, dragons, fey creatures, night creatures, exhilarating, terrifying, fantastic reads. And everything in there. There's another thing. See, I keep telling you all these different facts. Here's another one for you. I was what they called a latchkey kid. So for those of you who don't know what that means, it means when I came home from school, I had a few hours to myself before Mom and Dad came home from school. And during fall and winter months, that meant I had a few hours home from school that were in a dark house, because why would I turn the lights on? And all I could do to entertain myself was read or play the piano. Homework wasn't even an option, so let's not even go there. And I couldn't watch TV because Mom and Dad locked the TV cabinet because that would rot your brain, because they were trying to encourage me to do my homework. We've already discussed, not an option. So reading became my only option. We'll get back to the piano in a bit. So Time Life books, The Enchanted World. Awesome. But about the Hellmouth. How did I learn about the Hellmouth? The Gateway to the Dead. Because of my favorite book that I got. And for those on the live stream or in the back, this one, Ghosts. And no, y'all, as much as I like to say that I'm a collector, I live in a fairly small apartment. I have not been keeping this book for 35 some odd years. I bought a copy. Though I'm keeping it. though this was not a fun read for research. But for those who can't see it, the description, the cover is of a young lady who is riding on the back of her knight that is whisking her away, only to sadly discover when she lifts his visor, he don't have a face. It is in this book that I discovered about the Irish Banshee, the Fey spirit. But also, more importantly, the British fetch, or the also known as the German doppelganger, or the double goer, the double person. In some of these folklores, these people would go out about their business while you slept and help you with their chores. But in most cultures, just like in a lot of cultures where these spirits exist, they were harbingers of death and doom. You know, just once, by the way, I would like the word harbinger to be a harbinger of cake.
Birthday Eve?
Let's not talk about birthdays. Mine is in exactly 2 weeks, and my birthday is famously cursed. So, but DC, the land in which I come from, also has many spirits. One of the most famous which is the demon cat, which, ironically enough, is what I called my first pet, Natasha, without knowing about the famous cat. As a matter of fact, the demon cat of DC is a very normal-looking cat that, as you approach it, grows more menacing in size, unlike Natasha, which was just menacing all the time. So, but again, let's get back to the doppelganger. See, the doppelganger, or doppelganger, I'm going to go ahead and go doppelganger, because doppelganger gets stuck in the back of my throat. So, the doppelganger will appear as a loved one, or you, but frequently a loved one. And if you saw them, that meant they were going to die or had died recently. And the ones that appeared in the mirror behind you were always omens of death. In the mirror behind you. This lined up perfectly to tell me that the things that I had been seeing in the house, the little movements around the corner, yeah. So let's get back to that piano. See? Callbacks. My parents had put up this giant mirror over the piano. I think what they had done, their idea was to give whoever was playing the piano the ability to see other people in the living room, you know, so they could talk to them since their back was to the room. That was super nice of them, sure, you know, that was nice. The problem was that, as I mentioned, latchkey kid who liked to, you know, hang out in the dark house, I've been playing the piano since I was 4. I like to hang out in the dark room and play the piano. That was super nice and relaxing. So I'd just sit there and chill with my eyes closed. And every once in a while, I'd see Natasha dart behind me because she loved to spook me, demon cat that she was. But every once in a while, there was something too tall, too big, peeking around the corner. So I would just take the mirror off the wall and turn it. And before long, when I was brushing my teeth, something would walk down the hall. And then I'd go and look. Nobody was on the hall. So I just got in the habit of closing the doors. And this book taught me why. So that's why my advice to you, my friends, when you go home tonight, you might want to, when you're doing your evening ritual, be it brush your teeth, brush your hair, floss. You might want to check around the corners of your mirror. Or if you're putting on your pajamas, check under the bed, the reflection. Because you never know who or what might be looking back.
Unless you're on a hellmouth like Micah was growing up, the monster in the mirror mightn't be around the corner. Might be a little more looking you in the eye type of thing. And I don't mean like a monster in the sense of Taily-Po, although you all did a very good job with that. And this isn't a monster that says such things as we just sung in the last piece. It's more a monster that says, "Not now, I'm busy," or "Nothing at all." Some snide remark, a snippy comment. The mundane cruelties that we're all capable of, and that make it possible for the past to be haunting and the future to be haunting as well. This is a piece about that sort of sadder ghost called "Can You Feel Autumn Rollin' In?" Can you feel autumn rolling in? Can you feel autumn rolling in? In the turning wind, do you two stand shivering? Can you feel autumn rolling in? Can you see the wreath upon the door? Can you see the wreath upon the door? A ring that took its form from the garlands that you wore. Can you see the wreath upon the door? And can you hear the geese are on the wing? Can you hear the geese are on the wing? Harshly they sing as the weeping drizzle stings. Can you hear the geese are on the wing? the song. Can you hear the lonesome in the song? Main notes high and long, float wherever you have gone. Can you hear the lonesome in the song? And can you feel autumn rolling in? Can you feel autumn rolling in? In the keen and wet, can you think of warmth again? Can you feel autumn rolling in? In the keen and wet, can you think of warmth again? Can you feel autumn rolling in? Thank you.
How are we doing tonight? Okay. Well, I have good news. We're done with the ghost stories. Oh. We wanted to, we had spooky stories, we had fun stories, we had everything. We wanted to, Pat kept telling me that he wanted me to leave you with one last story, my favorite story to tell, but it isn't actually a ghost story. And it's one that actually requires me to get some help from you on, because every once in a while I lose the thread on it. So you're going to have to remind me what the story's about. So I'm going to start off with, letting you know, I'm going to start off with a key word. Soap. Soap. Now, I've always been about the bar rather than the liquid or the body wash, because the slick nature of the stuff has almost taken me out in the shower more than once. That stuff is deadly. So I stick with the bar, my old trusted companion. So this is a story about soap. Okay? We all clear on that? Is it soap? Right? Okay. So a crucial aspect of my recovery has been the solid support that I've gotten from my family and friends. I really wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the fact that they just never leave my side. And especially the last major breakdown that I had 12 years ago. When I lost my home, my job, got arrested, if it was, especially mom and dad, right? You hear me talk about I've mentioned them several times this evening, right? And the reason why I had them and they are so amazing is because of the anti-role models they had. They each had a parent that was a fantastic model of who they didn't want to be. Though we don't talk about it much, the anxiety and depression that I live with has a real clear trace down my mom's side of the family. And the way I learned to deal with it is a family tradition that goes back generations on my mom's side of the family, the alcohol and other stuff. That's a long way, a family tradition that goes back generations. But it's really my dad's side of the family that we're here to talk about today. Seriously, my paternal grandfather, specifically Big Haney. Haney Richard Pearson Sr., Big Haney. Now, my dad, as Haney Richard Pearson Jr., is Little Haney. For the record, and before you get too clever with it, my great-grandfather was called Son Haney. His name was Edward. So please, do not try to come to grips with the naming convention of Southern black families. We just go all over the place. But my dad has a seething grudge against his father because that stems really from the fact that he walked out on them at a very young age. And he walked out and he was gone for 8 years. He went out for, the family legend is that he went out for bread one day and then came back some 8 years later and was surprised the locks were changed. And since we now know that the attention deficit disorder that I live with has such a clear line down Dad's side of the family, some of the legends say that he just kind of got distracted and forgot to come home. Now, one of the few things that we can say about Big Haney is that he was a gifted baseball player of near unparalleled skill of the early 1940s. So one of the other family legends is that he may have gone off to play in the Negro baseball leagues. Now, when I was looking up to tell this story, I couldn't find anything to back that up. The only thing I could find was something in the Nashville Elite Giants, Haney, P. I don't know if that's him. Family legends are like that. I feel like I lost a thread. What's this about again? Yeah, okay. So, anyway. But my dad was a big athlete himself. He really loved playing sports too. So he really loved baseball too. He actually went off to play baseball. So, but every time he went out on the diamond to play baseball, and he was good at it, but there were these old dudes, these super old dudes that sat in the shade, and every time he went out on the field, all they could say was, nowhere near as good as his daddy. Now, my dad says he was really great at baseball. As a matter of fact, the older he gets, the better he was. But was nowhere near as good as his daddy. So he shifted to basketball. And that, I can say he really was good at, because I saw it with my own eyes. And so, as I grew up, he transferred the love of the game of basketball to me and encouraged me to play it, because my dad didn't want to be anything like his dad, and he wanted to nurture me and do everything he could. So basketball was my game from basically the time I could walk all the way to 18. And since I was real tall for my age, it was low post positions for me, forward, center. Also, I couldn't shoot worth a damn. Less said about my field goal percentages and jump shot, the better. So my dad always was there for me. After work, he even coached a few of my basketball teams. But, like I said, I couldn't shoot. Even in high school, one time they deliberately fouled me 10 times in a single game, and I still went 2 for 25 that night. Yeah, somebody knows what that means. I made 2 shots for 25 shots taken. Later, we would come to find out that I was so nearsighted, just nearsighted enough that I had no depth perception. And I really should have been wearing glasses. You know, possibly to even see the chalkboard. But Dad never gave up on me. Was always there. Just like when I got older and I was drinking, got out of jail, lost my job, got arrested, and they all knew I had less than 60 days left on my life. My parents didn't abandon me. So now you have all the context you need to know that when I was washing my hands in the bathroom and the soap just went flying out and landed right there in the toilet. Didn't hit the rim, didn't touch the bowl, just right down the drain, nothing but drain. Woof, sploosh. It was the greatest basketball shot of my life. And would have made little Henny proud. Because families are like that. Sometimes they have legacies of family trauma, mental health conditions, or just a love of game. Now, there's an epilogue to this story, and why storytelling is a very important medium. The first time my dad heard this story, and me tell this story, he goes, "Micah, your grandfather didn't play in the Negro baseball leagues. As a matter of fact, Satchel Paige came to the house to try and recruit your grandfather to play." Who here knows who Satchel Paige was? Yeah. And for those people on the live stream, several people raised their hands because he is one of the greatest players in Negro baseball leagues to ever live. He actually tried to recruit my grandfather to play in the Negro baseball leagues. As a matter of fact, he actually tried to recruit him to play for this baseball team in particular. And for those in the back of the room who can't see the hat, would you like to know what my grandfather said to him? He said, "No, I can't go play that team and on that team. It would take me away from my family. I'm about to start a family, and I don't want to leave them." He said that entirely without irony. And he said, "Micah, he didn't do it." And I turned to Dad and I said, "How would I know that, Dad? You literally never talk about him." But this is the power of stories. Me telling that story and reading that story to Dad is the first time he opened up to me to talk about him.
Despite the tears in the world, and despite the tears in our minds, there really is a lot to love about this life. The connection, the love, the friendships, the music, the storytelling, whatever your passions might be. And so this next song, we wanted to leave you with the the chance to think about choosing love and life in the shadow of the very evident death that looms over us all. This is a song about love and life's gloaming called Till the Cock Crows. We ran out through the pastures on our May wedding day, and I doubt we were as yeller as the photographs, I'll say. We're not so young and spry now, I feel that all too well. But we've got wine and this long night and a moon all to ourselves. So twirl and sing my laughing love, and I'll join in tune, built to make the wildwood ring, and sure I'll go with you. And I'll hold you tight through the long cold night by the light of the bone-white moon. And I'll not let you go till the cock crows. My working boots are drooping, your apron's frayed and stained. Our kids are growing old now, with families far away. There's little here to hold us, but it ain't time to go, 'cause we still have each other, and I still love you so. So twirl and sing my laughing love, and I'll join in tune, built to make the wildwood ring, and sure I'll go with you. And I'll hold you
like any other classic monster movie, there's only one thing left to do. Ladies and gentlemen, Old-Time Pharmaceuticals.
Ladies, gentlemen, and others.
Oh yes, not for guys, gals, and non-binary pals. That's what I mean. There we go.
Micah Pearson.
All right. We are going to be up front at our merge tables because we like to make money. And we are happy to answer any questions about Cruces creatives, inside out, advocacy through lived experiences. By the way, my name is Micah Pearson. If you haven't figured that out yet, I run an organization called Inside Out, Advocacy Through Lived Experiences, where we actually take these stories. If you haven't figured out, they're all inspired by my lived experiences. And Pat is the grant writer for Cruces Creatives, the makerspace, all dedicated towards educating youth and artists and artisans having a space to do cool stuff like this. And we'll be out front to answer any questions that you may have. We buried the lead on a lot of the conditions that I lived with and inspired this. And my new policy person, Kat, is also here this evening. Yay. So if you want to learn more about us, we'll be up front. So thanks for coming. Thank you everybody who came to the live stream.